smart, and I'm proud of you. I want you to make some friends this summer.
Meet Scotty Smalls.
Kale, get it! The kid is a L7 weenie. My life's over.
Man, this is baseball. You gotta stop thinking. You just have fun.
Climb trees, hop fences, get into trouble.
Just stand there and stick your glove out in the air. I'll take care of it.
Now he's in.
Yeah! All right!
With the coolest guys in the neighborhood. They've got the look.
Wendy Peppercorn. Wow. Hey, girls.
They've got the moves. They've got the rap.
Blockhead. Geek. Jerk. Idiot. Moron. You bob for apples in the toilet. And you like it. You play ball like a girl.
Hey everybody, it's the Cannon Cruisers. I'm JD.
And I'm Randy, and today we continue our summer special of sports that we've been doing for the last 16 years now. That never ends.
Actually, it does end because this is the last one. And we decided to cover, of all movies, The Sandlot. Can you believe it?
Reason why we chose this movie? We just felt like watching The Sandlot, and we needed to have something to round out the set. So we said, let's go with 1993's The Sandlot.
And we also didn't watch it the first time we did a sports movie special, which was for involving kids. I don't exactly know why we skipped this one in particular, but we did. So this time we're covering it, and we're going to end our second big special on it. So, Randy...
Honestly, this is probably our biggest special to date, because I don't think we've done a special that was 20-something episodes long. Like, this is...
Probably.
Season length.
Probably. I don't remember, but the reason for that is because these are a whole bunch of types of movies we haven't really talked about on here before, and it's a good chance to get through a whole bunch of them, including today's one, because today is probably one of the most infamous examples.
Did you know that it's considered a cult classic? I don't know how popular films are considered cult classics,
but... It's not a cult classic, it's just a classic. It's what people just like it. It's a well-known movie. It aired on TV a lot. It did well at the box office. Everybody has
spawned two sequels and a TV series that never got off the ground.
Because it was bought by Disney, which means you'll never see the movie re-released either. But enough of that, Randy. Why don't you just give us a hint as to what The Sandlot from 1993 is actually about?
Sure thing, boss. So in I just want to get the year right, 62, a new kid in town by the name of Scotty Smalls starts playing along with a bunch of children at a local sandlot, and he learns how to play baseball and have fun and have friends and people who will be around him for the rest of his life.
Yep, it's basically a coming-of-age story, but it's all centered around baseball.
And the nostalgia associated with it.
Mm-hmm. And because of that, the movie, it's actually hard sometimes to remember that it takes place in the year it does, because it's a very universal movie that a lot of people watched over the years because it relates to a lot of people growing up.
Also really weird because it's 1962, but spoilers, one of the characters at the end, we never hear from him again because he disappeared and he got really big into the 60s and disappeared.
Well, a lot of that is the late 60s. We're talking like psychedelics and stuff like that, which was the late 60s. Around Sgt. Pepper and whatnot. But yeah, this is just a plain old good movie that we decided, you know what? We did a whole bunch of different sports movies that kind of span the whole gauntlet. Why not we end it with another movie that helps span the gauntlet, but kind of closes it off a bit? Because after this movie, there isn't really a whole lot to cover when it comes to sports films, really.
Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, but that was before this, wasn't that? Wasn't that 92?
Yeah, but Mighty Ducks Part 2 and D3.
Yeah, but those are sequels. Like, when we're talking just originals, I think this is pretty much the last big one you can really think of. Like, there are some good ones, and most of them are either kids' movies or kind of rolling off the success of the Mighty Ducks. There's not a whole lot that you haven't already seen before.
Honestly, you get some pretty big sports movies in the latter half of the 90s, early 2000s. Remember the Titans.
Yeah, but again,
Varsity Blues.
A lot of those aren't that different from things we already
That's
covered.
the thing. That's why we were covering these things, because that's what
unique.
these movies are.
Yeah, and this is what they built off of. And I think this is probably the best one to end off of, because this is the last one I can remember that people did build off of the original Sandlot. Because
know what else built off of the original Sandlot?
The sequels.
Sandlot 2, because it's literally the same movie all over again.
Well, let's be fair. So's D2.
Except at the Olympics. It was at the Olympics, right?
It's pretty much the only difference. It's the same movie otherwise. And that's a lot of the... That's another thing when it comes to sequels with sports movies. They basically became, let's do the same movie again.
My favorite, though, of this, and this is just slightly untangential, Air Bud to Air Bud 2 something receiver. Where he goes from golden receiver.
Golden receiver, yes.
Because it goes from basketball to football. Because nowhere in the rules does it say that a dog can't play football. They bring out that chestnut again.
Yeah. I'm surprised that they only kept those two and just didn't do every sport. Just make it more ridiculous.
Oh, they did Air Bud 3 where he went back to basketball. And then it became Air Buddies.
Oh, yeah. Then that became... Didn't that become Santa Buddies at some point?
Then it became Santa Buddies. And then they went to space.
There's a whole weird thing with that.
Space Buddies? Yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Well, I guess it tells you how weird sports movies got at a certain point. They kind of went off on their own thing.
Most valuable primate.
Yeah. A lot of that, again, is from the 90s. So, Randy, might as well just go right into it. What are your general impressions of The Sandlot from 1993?
Man, is this movie, recorded into my brain.
Mm-hmm. If you saw this movie as a kid, you're probably not going to have it leave your brain anytime soon because you probably watched it more than once.
I would say you probably, if you've seen this at the proper age, you probably watched this more than 10 times because it appeared on cable continuously.
Though I'm pretty sure most people just owned it on either VHS or DVD.
Or both.
Or both, even. It's just one of
It is a cult classic, so there are people who probably own it on Blu-ray as well.
Well, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who also played it for their kids as they grew older too, because it's a very, it's a very universal movie. A lot of people really connect with it even now.
Kobe Bryant, when he was still alive, would watch it every year with his family on July 4th.
Yeah, it's a very universal movie in a sense that it also, as I said, it wraps the whole theme of sports and the sport itself into the actual story, because it's very important into what is actually going on in the film.
Because it's a metaphor, man. The eternal game of baseball is the eternal game of childhood, constantly cycling through over the years as the players leave and new ones appear.
Yeah, they keep playing as if nobody left. They're still there, basically. Even when they do the whole fade out thing, which was very popular from those types of movies, even in that case, it's just like, yeah, that guy just ended up owning the laundromat. It's just simple stuff like that. But it's good.
This age gap couple ended up having 9 children and owned the pharmacy.
That was pretty funny. But yeah, it's also proof that you probably shouldn't take a lot of it too seriously. I mean, you have the supernatural dog, for crying out loud,
which turns out to be just this good old sweetheart.
Mm-hmm. He just wanted his ball back, and nobody wanted to give him his ball, so he went and chased it. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I might as well. If you don't know, the big turn in The Sandlot is they're playing ball, and he takes his father's ball, or his stepfather's ball, and he accidentally knocks it into the yard with the huge dog in it, and they can't get it out.
And the ball was signed by Babe Ruth, so...
Yeah, then they have to get it back. So when they finally get it from the dog ends up chasing them around the town. And then they have to go back in, and then they finally befriend the dog and the owner, and that's the climax of the movie. So it all comes back around again to baseball.
Or the second movie, which comes back around to that exact same plot, where they're wondering about the mean Mr. Myrtle and his dog,
which you figure would have already been solved by then, but whatever. Whatever. All right, Randy. So we just talked about the general gist of it, the general impressions of it. Let's go into the more meaty aspects of it. Positives, negatives.
Well, let's head out with negatives, because it's hard to be very negative about this movie. This movie is full of good vibes.
It's a very good
and the reason why I said let's leave off with the negatives is because there aren't any.
No, it's one of those movies, and maybe you get a different answer. Maybe if you ask, I don't know, somebody's older.
Without nostalgia, I don't know if you went into this thing and you've never seen the movie before.
Because, for instance, I've known people who are older that hate the Goonies, for instance. They just hate it. But I've never met anybody younger who hates it, so it's a weird, maybe it's a generational thing, I don't know. But when it comes to this movie, it does pretty much everything it's supposed to do. It does it all very well, and it doesn't really overstay its welcome or really go there really doesn't miss either. It kind of nails every aspect of it.
Yeah, like the humor, light is there, and it's funny for children. It's funny for adults.
It's all for all ages. Like even for when they're doing the insults, it's clearly played down. You know what they're probably really saying, but it's toned down.
Oh, there are probably some racial slurs in there,
and there's probably really dirty stuff, but it's toned down for the obvious fact that it's for everybody.
Probably some homophobic slurs as well.
All of them.
Probably every slur you can imagine was probably shot into there because it was 1962.
But it's made for everybody to watch, so it's just funny little goofy stuff like that. Like, I guess you could probably pick that apart too if you want to do, but I think that would just be really, really, really nitpicking. Because it does exactly what it wants to do. So I would say then, because there's no real negatives, which positive do you think is the best part of the movie?
There's too many positives for there to be an actual positive. It's just positive. Like, it's very positive vibes. Like, the vibes of the movie is the best part of the movie.
That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to cover this one last, because it's kind of the last, again, the last.
It's also seemingly the hardest one to talk about, because you can't really talk bad about it, but then when you talk good about it, you're like, but man, so many good in here.
Well, a lot of it is the experience of the movie itself and how it relates to pretty much everybody who watches it, especially when they're growing up, because everybody has been one of the characters in this movie, at least at some point, or knows somebody who did something somebody did at some point that was similar. It's oddly universal in a way.
People are recognizable. Like, you watch these characters and you know who they are.
It's really hard to quantify exactly how the movie works, except that it's trying to nail a vibe and a tone, and somehow manages to do it in a way where it feels, like I said, universal and timeless, which makes it infinitely rewatchable.
Whereas other movies that are similar to this aren't as that try to aim for this type of timelessness. Like, let's say, I don't know, Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
Which is in the same vein, but came from Disney instead of 20th Century Fox at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That movie very much feels of its time.
Oh, yeah.
And looking at it, you'll go, that's the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to be watching it like this movie here and going, oh, this movie was made in the 90s. You're looking at it going, this is a very timeless picture.
Yeah, you're just watching a story, and it's a story that clicks with people regardless of where they came from, because it's a very universal experience of growing up, and in a way that it makes the sport, again, like we said before, kind of makes it almost like set dressing or epic, more above the normal game. It gets to the heart of why the game resonates with people at the same time.
It gets to the heart of it because the point of the movie, the sport in this movie, isn't for the competition. The whole point of the game is the game itself. The fun that you have, the people that you know and play it with every day, and the memories that you make.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's pretty much the entire movie. They bring that up multiple times.
Like I said, I was half joking about it being a metaphor, but it literally is the metaphor for childhood.
Yeah, it's pretty much the whole movie, because, like he said before he got there, it's one of the main character is he doesn't have his father who died, and he just recently got a stepfather, and he didn't have any friends, so this is like his first real experience growing up, and with getting friendships, having a father. Basically, first time having real relationships.
And these are relationships, as you discover, last a lifetime. Because he still talks with the kids, except for Bertram, who disappeared in the 60s.
That was weird.
We assume that he's dead, or he became the Zodiac Killer.
Or just a hippie.
Or a hippie, yeah.
And burnt
that
out
too.
Hippie. But yeah, and it all wraps around to the game itself, which is where it spawned out of, because I don't know what it's really known for today, but I remember back in the day, baseball is pretty much known for the game kids play in backlots, like stickball, not like professional baseball. It was a game people played kind of off on the side in their spare time.
Yeah, though over here nowadays it's more hockey.
Yeah, it's different for different places.
Street hockey, yeah.
But that was the sport for, I would say, the majority of the 20th century is what people would consider.
Well, it's a very easy game to pick up. You have a ball, you have gloves, and you have a stick. Anybody can play it.
All you need is enough space, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how that really works. And I think transferring that over into a story like this is what helps make it work so well. Because if it wasn't written as well as it is, I think it probably wouldn't resonate as much as it does.
And something that I really liked about the movie is that when you get to the thing with Hercules, the dog, the beast, that there's that whole element of memories, of like childhood memories, where things are bigger than they actually are. Like, here's this big monstrous beast, big as a house, humongous monster. No, he's really just a mastiff who is rather large.
He's just a big dog.
He's just a big dog. And a little smarter than most because he's able to destroy all those things and outsmart them at every turn. But through the memory of the kid, this dog was 10 feet tall.
I like how they did that with the practical effects in the dream sequences and like them describing the dog. You just see you don't ever see the full picture of the dog. You just see parts of like his giant paws coming down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when you actually see the dog, because of how it's shot at a low angle, but the dog is in the camera, so he's bigger just by default. So you don't actually see his size. And the only time you actually see his size is the very first time he chases them, which is that whole sequence.
And when you see him, it's like, oh no, this is just a very big dog. It's like, and I can understand why the kids would see him as something bigger because, yeah, he was chained up, but not in like a mean, abusive sort of way. It's just that he was chained up because if he wasn't, he would have jumped the fence.
Because he did jump the fence.
Yeah, because the moment his chain broke, he jumped the fence.
And not only that, he brought the fence down on himself.
Yeah,
which is the nice turn at the end where it turns out, oh, the dog is grateful that they helped him up, stuff like that. It's a cute little movie. It's fun. It's good for all ages. And there's a little bit more in it than you might expect if you've never seen it before.
Heavy nostalgia glasses, though, on while watching this. And they're very hard to take off just because it's so ingrained.
That's also part of the actual appeal of the movie in general, is because that's what it's about. It's about
nostalgia, yeah.
Nostalgia, it's about childhood, it's about getting older, coming of age, and both discovering relationships and growing in them.
It's almost heroin-grade nostalgia that they're pumping into your veins. It's addictive.
Which is funny because that's what the movie's about, so now if you watch it divorced from that, it still gets that across. So that's why I would be curious to see what someone's opinion of it today would be if they didn't grow up with it. I think it would probably still hit just because of what the movie's about. So it probably would still make its mark, but it's hard to tell. So as we talk about it, basically we can't really separate that part of it. It's pretty much impossible just because of the nature of how the movie is. And the fact that it's very well done. So, you can't really call out anything. The acting is very well done. The script is well done. The story is well done. The sports, what do you really say? You can't really nitpick anything out of that.
Yeah, so it's it's gonna give it a rating of a 5 because it's like I said, there is literally no negatives of this movie. I can't just be like, oh, it's very by the numbers, but it's very by the numbers because it is the number.
Yeah, it's one of those movies like some of the earlier ones we covered,
that very much inspired this type of movie.
Yeah, it's also let's say, Bad News Bears or The Longest Yard, where it's kind of the one that set the trend in a sense. So it's hard to criticize it for doing that.
Yeah, you can see elements of Bad News Bears in it.
A little bit. It's very much its own thing though. It's not like, let's say, The Mighty Ducks, which is pretty much 90s Bad News Bears. This one, okay, they're kids who maybe are a little bit misfit, though I would say they're probably just more normal kids. And it's just, this is their experience playing the game. There's no, teams in the game, in the movie. There's nothing they're not winning a cup or we got to do this to prove our worth or anything like that.
And the one time they do compete, they absolutely dominate.
Yeah, which is probably part of the point to show that it's not about the competition in this case. It's just about the game itself, which works very well for what it's trying to do. And again, it's one of the reasons why I think I wanted to cover this one last, because it kind of feels like the last sort of that type of mold making movie, like the earlier ones we covered. Because even those, they were starting to get a bit formulaic by the late 80s, and this part of the 90s, they kind of mixed up a little bit. But then, like I said, we get into the weird animal sports movies, and then the kids sports movies, and then the serious one, the drama ones.
It's honestly, I can tell you right now that at some point in the future, even if it's the last thing we ever do, there will be a run of animal sports movies because there were a lot of them.
But we'll probably just come out and say straight out that I would probably hazard a guess that this would probably be the last sports movie, chronologically, I'd probably actually give a 5 out of 5 out of just because it's the last one that really, to me, feels like it's a trendsetter, a mold breaker in a way. There's other good ones, but this is the last one I think is really its own thing, and it kind of stands out in a way that you can't really say it's like anything else. So yeah, I'd give it a 5. That's what I'm going to give it.
Same here. 5 for me.
There's not a whole lot else to really say about this. This is a kind of movie, you either get it or you don't, and if you haven't seen it, you'll probably be like, why can't they talk more in detail about it?
It's because it's a very hard movie to talk about.
It's a really difficult one to talk about unless you know what we're talking about. So that's why I would recommend watching this one. And I think it's a perfect sports movie to end off it, because now we move back on to normal stuff after this. It's the last one.
Yeah, and as you know, when we say normal, it's probably going to be something strange.
Yeah. But we probably won't be covering anything sports related for at least a little while, because, it's been a run. All right, everybody. That's it for this one. We'll see you next time when we continue through our catalog of weird movies, possibly related to sports, or maybe something else.
What our theme is next time, you'll never figure it out.
That's because we can't even figure it out. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
But something else has got their ball.
That wasn't my ball!
Dad's father gave it to him. Babe Ruth signed that ball.
Babe Ruth! We gotta get that ball back.
Got any bright ideas?
Initiate retrieval section number 1. Power connect. Come on, homie, it's heavy. Now. Fire! Fire! Mommy, look, a doggy. Ooh, a big doggy.
20th Century Fox presents
Hey guys, it's the Sandlot babies.
You're the ones that making all that racket.
A Lifetime of Adventure.
Come on, Squid, you can do it. Pull through, bud. You little pervert.
The Sandlot. A little piece of paradise, a half a block wide, and a whole season long.
Scotty, have you made any friends yet?
Oh!